The Jets Roundtable is back after a 2-week hiatus. I was on the road, Jake was on the road, so we couldn't do any shows. But don't you worry, the Thursday edition of Jets Roundtable featuring myself, Jake Asman, and Matt O'Leary is back, bringing you everything you need to know about the New York Jets heading into the offseason. Oh, baby, I'm excited. Welcome on in, Jake and Matt. Matt, how you been, brother? Good to see you.
Doing good. I missed the show the last couple weeks, but excited to chop it up on all the latest Jets news with you too.
Yeah, and shout out to Matthew, who has been holding it down here on the channel, who has been grinding out videos on Jets Roundtable. So if you guys are subscribed to Jets Roundtable, you'll see our three faces, and of course, you'll see Matthew Wilson, your future's favorite sportscaster, which is his name on social media, who's been grinding out some content here on the channel. So shout out to him for holding it down while we were gone, and we'll continue to hold it down as we continue into this offseason. But Jake was able to see you at the Senior Bowl and the Super Bowl. Are you sick of me yet?
I live for it, Richie. I can't get enough of Roundtable Sports. I like you. I don't need to see Dan Mitchell. I don't need to see TD. I don't need to see Kobe. I'm good with all them. By the way, Kobe, great Super Bowl. Enjoyed every second of it. But it's just great to be back with you and, of course, with Matt talking Jets.
Yeah, you know, when you have your business partners be your division rivals, it's a definitely a unique dynamic that I got to deal with traveling with them and stuff. And I'm glad that you were able to get Justin Morris as your producer, who's a great intern here at Roundtable Sports, to help you out behind the scenes of the great Jake Asman show that was on full display at Radio Row. So we're excited to get into a lot of things here on the channel. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to Jets Roundtable as we start our show off right away. Let's get it started. All right. So first things first, Derek Carr talks. He was on a podcast with his brother, and he had something very interesting to say about Aaron Glenn. He said he loves Aaron Glenn. His brother loves Aaron Glenn. They golf together or whatever. And they also said that they love Jets fans. How about that? They have a soft spot for us Jets fans. And the reason for that is pretty hilarious, in my opinion, which is the Jets donating to a charity because when the Raiders beat the Jets in that infamous Greg Williams cover zero, which is pretty hilarious. Before we roll the clip, I just want to get both of your reactions to the potential idea of Derek Carr being a Jet. Matt, how would you feel if this is the quarterback the New York Jets are going after this offseason?
Yeah, I'm I guess lukewarm at best on it. I just am a little concerned with someone who hasn't been in the league. You know, last year he retired because of injury, and you look at it and he has, shoulder problems and is going to turn 35 next month. And, even the last year that he played in New Orleans, the 10 games, the numbers were okay, but he was also really banged up that year too. A couple years older, a year removed from playing in the NFL. I just don't know how smooth of a transition you're going to be looking at. So I get the connection that Jet fans are making when you're looking at, Musgrave, the quarterback coach, and worked with him and was his OC in two of his better years, one of which he finished third in MVP voting. Unfortunately, that's over a decade ago now. And I just don't really see that magic reuniting, 10 years later here.
Yeah, and I guess it's going to be a weird offseason for us because you need new quarterback coming in, and there's not a lot of options that are exciting, right? So it's like, which one of these is the most exciting out of all of them that are not exciting? But Jake, your thoughts of the idea of Derek Carr coming to the Jets based off of the Jets quarterback coach they brought in, would it be the right or the wrong move for them?
It's basically like choose your mid. Like there's no perfect answer. I think BJF, the Buffalo Jet fan, was the first to coin that phrase, and he's right. Derek Carr's okay. I'm not as down on him as some are. I'm also not going to sit here and try and put lipstick on a pig. He wasn't good the last time he played. Then he didn't play at all. He's coming off a major shoulder injury. So, best case scenario, Derek Carr is competent. Worst case, he gets hurt, and you're going to be awful. So I think you need to have a legitimate veteran behind Derek Carr, unless your plan is just to basically lose games at that point, which I don't think it is for Aaron Glenn. It might be for Jet fans rooting that way, but he's okay. He's not my number one preference, but unfortunately, when you're the Jets and you're in a spot where you're picking second in what is perceived to be a one quarterback draft, you got to probably be creative with the options you bring in. So if you brought in Derek Carr and another veteran and drafted someone on day two, maybe that could be the best case scenario for your quarterback room. But In a vacuum, I would not go down the Carr path, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's ridiculous for fans who think Derek Carr is a worthwhile swing at the position for a year.
And this is where we're at, Jets fans. We got to figure out. And remember, we were here a few years ago. It was between Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, and it was Aaron Rodgers. But according to Derek Carr, he does like Aaron Glenn. He also loves Jets fans. So let's hear from Derek Carr on the podcast with his brother. This is around holiday season. So take a listen in if you guys did not see this yet, because very interesting what he had to say.
I love Aaron Glenn.
I love
Glenn's
Aaron
a good
Glenn.
friend.
Great golfer, good friend.
Okay. Love Aaron Glenn. Okay. I talk to him whenever it's viable. All right. Okay. I love Aaron Glenn. Okay.
It might be viable soon.
Okay.
Your green sweatshirt.
You're wearing green?
Yeah.
Mine was for Christmas tree.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I mean, I just want to pause it there before he goes into the Jets fan story. Like, I don't know about you guys, but this is making me feel like it's going to happen more than anything. His brother, like, oh, when it's viable, wearing that green sweatshirt of yours. Man, am I reading too much into this, or is this something real?
My question is, were they high? They just like giggling for the first 20 seconds of this. There was like there's no substance there. It was just 20 seconds of giggling there. So I'm going to need to hear the last 34 seconds here, I think, to get a real pulse.
Let's play it then.
Listen, I love him, but I also love Jet fans. Here's why. Okay.
I can't believe you're saying
I threw,
this.
I checked
Low
cover
Jet
zero
fans.
little deal. I throw this game winner.
Yeah.
Henry
Yeah,
Ruggs.
it's
Okay.
beautiful.
Jet fans, because we helped them get a worse draft pick, donated to Valley Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's cool.
They're like, Derek, I got so many tweets. Thank you so much.
That's cool.
And Valley Children's even was like telling me, we're getting so many
That's
New
fantastic.
Jersey and New York calls right now
That's
to
pretty
donate.
awesome. That's pretty
So
awesome.
Jet fans,
Well done there.
I love you.
I'll
and
give you
thank
that.
you for helping the kids.
So he had two things to say there. One was about Aaron Glenn, and the other was about Jets fans. So now, Matt, you heard the rest of it. Do you still hold on to your theory that they were high?
Maybe. It was a definitely interesting podcast conversation. I don't read in a ton to it. I don't know how many teams are calling up Derek Carr asking for his services, so he may very well be open to the Jets. And he likes Glenn clearly, and I know that he likes Musgrave too. So from his perspective, I don't know how many other starting opportunities he's going to get around the league. So I think he kind of has to like the Jets.
Yeah, and I think that, there was an article that came out on Super Bowl Sunday that was from Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, Mike Garafolo, saying that Derek Carr could possibly unretire for the 2026 season, provided the right situation and coaching staff. And they really break it all down. That teams were reaching out to him last year, more specifically the Bengals, when Joe Burrow went down. He wasn't interested. Now he's fully healthy. Apparently seems a little bit more likely, but it has to be the right coaching staff. And the fact that he, quote unquote, has a relationship with Aaron Glenn, number one, and number two, they brought in their quarterbacks coach. That makes me feel like that's just me trying to read in between the lines. This could be absolutely nothing, or it could be absolutely something. Jake, where are you at with everything? Do you think that all these little breadcrumbs are leading to Derek Carr coming to the Jets, or are you still not buying into that theory yet?
I'm buying him as a real option. Again, he's got the relationship with the head coach. He's got the relationship with the QB coach. He used to be his play caller. Derek Carr, to me, is an option. I just need to know how healthy he actually is, right? Like, did he get shoulder surgery, or did he just not play and it naturally healed? There's been mixed reporting on that. So I just want more info on Carr as a whole. And again, like Derek Carr, he was not good the last time we saw him play. So I'm not in love with this, but again, they just don't have a tremendous amount of other high-end options. Like Derek Carr is probably one of the better choices you can make just almost by accident.
Yeah. So I actually do have an information to share with his shoulder based off that article that I'll share here, which is important. So in this article on NFL.com, it says he decided to retire last May due to his labral tear in his shoulder and damage to his rotator cuff, which could have been repaired via surgery, but would have put his season in jeopardy. Since then, Kerr took several months off to rest, and sources say his shoulder has responded well, leading Carr to slowly begin rehabbing as the season unfolded. His shoulder has now improved to the point where he is throwing fully as part of his regular exercise routine. Teams have learned Carr currently has no shoulder limitations. So that's based off of the latest. This article came out on Super Bowl Sunday from the insiders. So I don't know. He decided not to get surgery, which is why he wanted to retire. But now I guess it's responding well. But again, that's your shoulder you're talking about. You need to have a good shoulder in order to be successful in the NFL. So what's your thoughts with that new information about his shoulder?
Well, I mean, they'd have to verify that. How do we know that just agent speak? Oh, yeah, his shoulder's totally fine. I mean, they got to make sure it's actually okay before you do anything. Again, I think he's a real option. I mean, that clip intimates that obviously Glenn and Carr have spoken about him possibly being an option for the Jets. So that to me tells me that the Jets have him on their list of potential QBs they could bring in. I don't know if he ultimately will choose the Jets if he can go somewhere else that gives them maybe a better opportunity to win or a clear opportunity to start. I mean, he would have that with the Jets. Like, you could sell the Jets pretty easily to Carr. I just think he might look at it like, hey, can I go to Minnesota, maybe compete with McCarthy and go to a ready-made team that can win? Or does he view maybe going back to Vegas and being like the backup to Mendoza as like a nice final chapter to go back with the franchise that he's associated with? I don't know what his thinking is other than he might play for the right opportunity. We got to figure out what that opportunity is.
The one thing I do like the idea of Derek Carr is he's a gunslinger. He's not afraid to throw the ball. And he's also someone that loves to feed the number one option, which will be Garrett Wilson. And I like that. Going from Justin Fields, who was just afraid to throw it. He's like, just throw the ball, Justin. Would you? That was my biggest frustration with Justin last year. You go from him to a potential Carr that is just going to throw the ball. I mean, that's going to bring up more, risk, of course. But Matt, say hypothetically the Jets do land Derek Carr. Obviously, there needs to be other corresponding moves. Who the quarterback is next to him. Are they going to draft someone or not? Are they going to bring back Breece or not? But what's your thoughts of your overall perspective of the Jets with Derek Carr under center? Do you think they should be aiming for playoffs? Obviously, every team will, but what's your overall approach to the season with Derek Carr under center in terms of expectations?
I don't think he significantly raises the ceiling, I guess, for this team. I think most of these guys, Carr, Cousins, any of them in the veteran tier, I don't think they're really changing things from a win-loss record perspective, maybe a game or two in one way or the other. But like Carr, I don't look at as a long-term option. I think you still have to go into the draft and take a swing at the position, whether that's in the first round or, maybe it's on day 2 or day 3. I don't think you necessarily have to come away with a round 1 quarterback this year, but I do think even if you're signing someone like Carr, who has a ton of starting experience, like I laid out, he's 35 and he has injury concerns. So he needs someone to go to even behind him. And, for this regime, I think they also need to add a young quarterback to this quarterback room. So it doesn't really change the plan for me. If it was Carr, I think you're still going into next year with a veteran and a young quarterback.
Interesting stuff. The big question is, if they do bring in a Derek Carr, who's the quarterback underneath him going to be? I really do have a good idea of where the Jets could go, of course, we all think. And based off of what I'm hearing, I don't know. Because a lot of people are sharing their perspective of a Ty Simpson, for example, for the Jets. Based on what I'm hearing, I don't think that's going to be an option for the Jets because there's a lot of teams that want him that are ahead of the Jets in the NFL draft based off of connections I made at the Senior Bowl. So we shall see how that unfolds. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments about the New York Jets' current situation with Derek Carr. And that's what I have to say. Someone in the chat right now, Carr, 1, and number 2, Ty Simpson or Nussmeier. I think if you do draft a quarterback, it's going to have to be a Nussmeier because I do not think Ty Simpson is going to be an option for the Jets based off of what I'm hearing with teams that are interested in him that are not named the New York Jets that are ahead of them in the NFL draft, unless the Jets draft him at 2, which would be crazy. But that's basically what I can tell you on that. All right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button. Or is there another goal happening? What's going on? You guys are waving the flags.
It's US, baby.
Yeah, baby. Fire, sound the alarms. Let's go. Love it. But I want to get interactive with the chat. USA. Whoa.
That was awesome.
That scared me for a second. Hit that like button, folks, as we're live on the Jets Roundtable, talking all things New York Jets, latest news and storylines entering the offseason. We must get into the next topic. Let's break down Aaron Glenn's brand new coaching staff. They officially announced every single name that was added to the staff, including, we already know who the offensive and defensive coordinators are, but now we understand who the positional coaches are. There's a lot of new faces coming on in to the New York Jets coaching staff. So we're going to break it down right here. So make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on your way in. Matt O'Leary, want to give your original reaction to this, right? Start off with the positional coaches. We understand the Frank Reich hire, even though I haven't really got your thoughts of it because, I mean, I watch your content, so I know your thoughts of it, but haven't been able to ask you on this show about Frank Reich or even the Duker, brother, because that happened when we were at the Senior Bowl. But what's your overall reaction from a wide perspective of the staff that Aaron Glenn officially assembled?
The Duke of defense. Look, it was kind of a they got there in a little bit of an ass backwards way. However, I still think it's, there's things you could be excited about on this staff. On the offensive side of the ball, what I think is intriguing is you have the mix of the veterans and Frank Reich and the quarterback coach who have been there and done it for a while. And then you have some of the younger guys like Seth Ryan, who's maybe a little bit more innovative. And in a perfect world, those things blend together and it works. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think bringing back Dunbar is maybe their best coaching decision that they've made so far. I really like the work that he did with the Jets in the first go around, and obviously had a lot of success in Pittsburgh too. So I think I'm intrigued by this coaching staff, but or the additions to this coaching staff. But to me, it really comes down to Aaron Glenn as a play caller on this defense. And, there's no more excuses. It's not, like last year is calling it Steve's defense, Steve Wilkes' defense. Well, now it's his defense. So it's really up to him and the rest of the staff to get that unit going in the right direction.
Aaron Glenn has decided to be hands-on with his defense. And that's a big decision that I also want to talk to you guys about as well. But the staff is complete. Here is the list of guys. Shout out to Zach Rosenblatt for this. The stars are for all the new additions. And boy, oh boy, there's a lot of new guys on this list, including Seth Ryan. Woo! The star of the staff. Jake, your reaction to the news of all these new coaches that Aaron Glenn has hired. It is now officially complete.
I mean, anytime you got to replace 50% of your staff, including both coordinators, there's going to be major red flags with anyone with a brain. But given some of the other alternatives that were reported, that could have been the OC, for example, I don't think Frank Reich is terrible. Obviously, for nostalgia purposes, seeing Seth Ryan on the staff is really cool. And hopefully he's a really good coach. And that will certainly provide some youth to an offensive staff that has a bunch of old guys like Bill Musgrave. Apparently he's only 58. That guy looks like he's in his 80s. Some of the photos I've seen of him, for what it's worth. But look, I was very critical of the fact that last year Aaron Glenn hired a first-time offensive coordinator. He was a first-time head coach, and their quarterback coach was a guy who mostly has coached only running backs and was a running back in college in Charles London, right? So to get a guy who actually played quarterback, has coached only quarterbacks, has been an OC as the QB coach, I think it's a good hire. And I think it's nice to see some experience added to that side of the ball. That said, I don't think this is a great staff by any means, but it could have been worse if you want to try and be glasses half full here.
I think my favorite addition to this staff personally, and the cool thing about this staff is there's a lot of familiar faces that's connected to the Jets, not only Seth Ryan, but I think that the addition of Carl Dunbar is an intriguing one. I mean, the strength of the New York Jets has always been their defensive line, growing up, at least for me and everybody. And the fact that they're bringing this man back, that's nostalgic. Matt, your thoughts of a Carl Dunbar returning, because I know that we all loved him helping developing guys like Muhammad Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson, and the boys. What are your thoughts of bringing him back?
Yeah, I love it. I said it earlier. I think he's probably the best addition to this coaching staff. And I'm very curious, too, to see if this means that they are going to make the switch from a 4-3 to more of a 3-4 style defense and how that impacts what the Jets are looking to do in both free agency and the NFL draft. But, I feel really good about what he can do with the defensive line. And, obviously Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald at points struggled last year. And, they're putting, in my opinion, a guy in place who's had a lot of success to hopefully get more out of those two.
And Aaron Glenn being more hands-on with the defense, the whole Wink Martindale fallout was very interesting. I feel like the last time we talked, it was Wink Martindale's about to be the defensive coordinator, and then things just flipped. It's like, breaking news, Wink Martindale's coming. Well, guess who leaked that story? Wink Martindale's agent, right? And I think a lot of things happen behind closed doors, and the reports about Woody saying, hey, I'm paying you all this money. Why don't you call the plays? So I don't know if that's true or not. But, Jake, your thoughts of Aaron Glenn hiring a Brian Duker and him being hands-on with this defense, is that the right move? Because I feel like if you got to do something to try to fix this team, you might as well get hands-on and go down swinging. And you saw the Seattle Seahawks, they got a defensive-minded head coach who calls plays on defense. So what's your thoughts of the idea of Aaron Glenn transitioning from a CEO coach, which he said he was last year, and now he's changing everything up, now being the hands-on approach on defense?
I think if you're going to go down doing what helped get you the job in the first place, right? So I understand why he's doing it. It's a little funky how we got here. I thought Matt said it well. But again, Glenn being the guy overseeing the defense, fine. Frank Reich is the OC. He's okay. I don't think any other team, though, was dying to hire 64-year-old Frank Reich to be their, quote, head coach of the offense when he hasn't been in the NFL in 2 years. And he's not exactly like a young, innovative mind, right? So, again, I don't think it's the worst outcome. I just think there's a lot stacked against Aaron Glenn that he goes into the year on a real hot seat, and they got to get out to a good start. And if Frank Reich could raise the floor of the offense and Glenn can fix the defense, that's probably Glenn's best path to staying in it, staying relevant, and not bottoming out completely where his job would be lost at that point.
Yeah, stylistically, the idea of even Frank Reich as being the offensive coordinator, a lot of people are skeptical that he doesn't really have a modern day mind for the NFL today, where the NFL is going offensively. And his staff that he has underneath him is very intriguing from the perspective of there's a blend of veterans at the quarterback coach spot and then youth, Seth Ryan. And the guys that they retained are mostly on the offensive staff. Hayden, the offensive line coach, Sean Jefferson, the wide receivers coach, who has a deep connection with Garrett Wilson. And I think that's an important guy that the Jets want to make sure they kept on the staff because of that connection with Garrett Wilson. And I believe also the running backs coach. So curious to see what this offensive philosophy is going to look like. Like, based off of the knowledge of Frank Reich, the last time we saw him, he was an OC with the Eagles, but he wasn't really calling plays. He was underneath Doug Peterson. And then he went to be a head coach. What type of offense should Jets fans expect? And I think we also have to wait to see the quarterback is going to be. But Matt, what can you tell the Jets fans that the style of offense led by Frank Reich, what should we expect stylistically? Will it be similar to Tanner Engstrand? Will it be different? Is it going to be old school, or is it going to be some new wrinkles? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think you made a good point there towards the end with talking about it's going to matter on who the quarterback is for this. But I do think looking at some past history with Frank Reich, we could cross some guys off the list. Like, I don't think Kyler Murray is really a fit for the type of quarterback that Frank Reich usually likes to work with. So, a taller, more pocket passer kind of guy. And, we saw it towards the end of his tenure when he had Jonathan Taylor there, not afraid to lean on the ground game at all. And I think that's going to be the strength of this Jets offense, if there was to be a strength with how the offensive line is constructed. And depending on what they do with Breece Hall there, whether they bring him back or sign someone else in free agency, I still think, it's going to be a run first offense. And it's really kind of contingent, I think, too, like I said, on who the quarterback is. But I wouldn't expect them to be this, high flying offense that's going to be throwing the ball 50 times a game.
Yeah. And I feel like the philosophy of Aaron Glenn when he came here is basically very old school. Run the football, establish a line of scrimmage, and play good defense. And that's basically what the Seattle Seahawks are. Sam, as a quarterback, he was able to just, lean on the great team around him. And I think that's just an example. Every team should be looking at the model of the Seattle Seahawks, who just won the Super Bowl, and replicate that in their way. Because I think that the era of the early 2020s with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes lighting up the league, putting up 50-plus passing touchdowns, everyone thought that was everything. I think we're getting back into a different era of football. Because look at the playoffs, not even just a Super Bowl, but in the playoffs, what did you guys say? It was more defensive than it was offensive. There was a sloppiness everywhere. It was taking the ball away. So the Jets got to figure out how to take the ball away and play defense. And that was a big, big issue they had last year, and establish a run game. And I think that is something that we did not see last year consistently. They were unable to run the football as effectively as we liked. Breece Hall did get over 1,000 yards, but it didn't really feel like much. So I think from that perspective, it's going to be very interesting to see the overall stylistically change happening on this offense led by Frank Reich. But again, it's all going to come down to who the freaking quarterback is going to be. We shall see. Make sure you guys hit the like button and let us know your thoughts about Aaron Glenn's staff in the comments right now. Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic about the overall staff underneath him? Because this was pretty much the first domino to fall this offseason. When the season ended, first things first, you got to get this coaching staff situated. Now it is situated. Next step, evaluating free agency, and then it's all into the NFL draft. And then all of a sudden, it's going to be rookie minicamp, and then OTAs, and then we're going to blink and we're in training camp. How about that? We're all handing out stickers at training camp.
There we go.
Let's do it. All right. Hit that like button if you guys are enjoying the content here on Jets Media. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the show. As always, let's get into the chat a little bit. If you guys want to send in some super chats, that skips the line, but we'll get into Lewis. The New York Jets have made headlines for their historic streak of not recording interception in a season. That's for sure. The Jets get headlines because they do the most dumbfounded things in NFL history, man. We run, even the Jets we'll talk about this later. We're at Radio Row and the Jets are dominating headlines. What are the Jets doing at Radio Row in headlines?
Always happens that way. You can never sleep on the Jets.
We're the talk of the town. Always.
There's no team that's talk of the town more than the Jets, even when we stink. Just saying. The Jets have to pivot now into free agency. Now that the coaching staff is officially finalized, where are the Jets going to go? Who are some potential free agent targets? Who are the guys the Jets are going to retain? This is really the next step. And I think that there's a lot of interesting decisions the Jets are going to make. Of course, there's trade candidates that you have to consider, who the Jets going to trade for, who are the Jets going to trade away. But it starts in free agency. It starts with the guys they're going to either bring back or let walk. Who are you going to release? Who are you going to let go of or restructure contracts? How are you going to create more cap space? Who are you going to target? Because last year's free agency class wasn't great. Wasn't at all. I mean, off the top of your head, who's the best free agent the Jets got last year?
Austin McNamara.
Yeah.
Bang.
Nick Folk.
That is true.
I had to think about it though, which is sad, right? There's no obvious.
Or punter. Wow. That was big. You know, nobody at wide receiver was Josh Reynolds. No. Justin Fields, obviously not. Brandon Stevens gave him a big contract and was way down more than up, even though he had some positive plays, but mostly negative. And those were really it, the big signings. There's no other big signing I'm missing, right?
Isaiah Williams.
Well, he was someone that actually turned into a big positive. So really just free agent. Only special teams is the only guys that hit in free agency. So first, before we get into the targets the Jets should pursue, let's talk about the guys on the team that the Jets can move off of in terms of creating cap space. Matt, is there anybody on this roster that the Jets could cut? Any cut candidates that you see to free up some money?
Justin Fields as a post-June 1 cut feels like a pretty easy decision there. It just unfortunately didn't really work out. There's not, I don't feel like there's a ton of obvious cut candidates. Like people might bring up Jamie Sherwood, but I think with how his contract is structured, they can't really do that this year. Same thing with Brandon Stevens. So, I think it'll be like marginal players, like maybe like a Braden McGregor or someone like that to pop $1 million or $900K off the books. But there's not a ton of like big name cut candidates really outside of Justin Fields.
Yeah, the one cut candidate that is out there, and just because of the contract and that's it, they should not do it. We're going to get into him later, which is Harrison Phillips. They got to restructure his deal, in my opinion. Give him the guaranteed money he deserves, because Harrison Phillips, if you wanted to free up money, that's where you do it. But no, you don't get rid of veterans. You put a captain on that jersey of his, because man, is that the guy the Jets need to build around long term. Even though he is a veteran, he's not a young guy or anything, but that's the guy that is a culture piece. But Jake, is there anybody you think the Jets are going to move on from a cut candidate perspective?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who would be a cap casualty. I mean, the thing is they have so many like free agents. I don't know. I mean, like Fields is the obvious one, right? Like probably June 1st them and we'll see you later. Save whatever money they can, then the outright release. I do think though, we're going to be looking at the big debate with Breece and then the two guards, right? The two free agents, what you do with Simpson, what you do with AVT. I know Matt and I were talking about this on my show this morning because you can really make a case. You know, do you bring Simpson back who's more steady, or do you take the big swing on AVT and a 1-year prove-it deal? I think that's going to be one of the bigger decisions they'll make in addition to Breece's future.
Yeah, I think that the big decision for the Jets in free agency is exactly what Jake just said. Of course, the Breece Hall one is the headliner and the left guard position as well. Now, when it comes to the pending free agents, there's also Nick Folk. Is he retiring or not?
Sounds like he's going to play from what I saw. So if he wants to play another year, you bring him back because he's still amazing.
He is. Do we have a nickname for him? We had Greg the Leg, but Folk, the Folk hero. What is it? There's no nickname for Nick Folk after all these years.
Folk hero.
Folk hero. All
Folk,
right.
yeah.
Austin McNamara, not a free agent, correct? Or is he restricted?
No,
or is he? We're good.
He's good for another year.
Oh, that's our best. That's our MVP, basically. And other pending free agents, Michael Clemens, he's leaving.
I would hope.
Is he?
I don't know, Matt. I heard you're the biggest Clemens fan there is.
You caught me. You caught me. I am.
Hey, man. He looks the part. He flipped off those fans in Cleveland.
Yeah, that was awesome. He also tried to fight Deion Dawkins in the tunnel in Buffalo.
We need an edge. All right. We need an edge. But I think before we get into Breece, let's talk about the offensive line. What's the latest
Real quick,
you're hearing?
Richie, can I tell you guys my Deion Dawkins story from the Super Bowl? Did Dan Mitchell tell you about this?
No.
So I was leaving the convention center one day. It was me, Dan Mitchell, and Justin Morris, who, as you brought up earlier, was helping me out producing the show for the week. And I spotted Deion Dawkins on one of those Lime scooters driving by, and he's wearing like a tank top, but it's like so out of place, like big dude on the scooter. Like he stood out to me. I recognized, mind you, I'm with two Bills fans, and I'm the one who recognized that's Deion Dawkins. This is hilarious. So I'm like, that's Deion Dawkins, and they go Deion or whatever because they go, Buffalo Bills fans, all that. And so he says, what up? And then I go, you love Michael Clemens. Like I just yelled that at him. And he goes, I hate that guy. And it was really funny that he kept screaming. But ask Dan Mitchell. That's a true story, Jet fans.
That's hilarious.
Deion Dawkins said, I hate that guy. But I'm like, you love Michael Clemens as a bit.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe they didn't tell me that. That's
I'm shocked they didn't.
Hilarious.
I thought that they definitely would have.
That's the thing about those experiences. There's so much that happens. You can't even begin to fathom everything that happened. But wow.
Yeah, I took a piss
Deion
next to
Dawkins
Trevor Lawrence, and I said, you ever think about how different your life would have been if the Jets had the number 1 pick? We had a nice back and forth about that.
And what do you say?
He's like, I thought about it a lot. And then we had a brief chat, and that picture of Trevor and I, that happened right outside the bathroom.
Now,
I don't know what.
Now let's play with that. Where do you think the Jets would be if Trevor Lawrence would he? Number one, the first question is he still a Jet?
It's a good question. I mean, I think he would be. I don't know if he would have ever hit his peak because the coaching has been brutal.
Is Saleh still the Jets head coach?
Saleh's gone. They would have a different coach, but they might have finally hired an offensive coach by now if they had Trevor Lawrence.
Matt, what do you think? If they got the first overall pick and they were able to get T-Law, is he still a Jet?
Is Lawrence still a Jet? Yeah, I would think Trevor Lawrence is still a Jet at this point.
So he would have been better than Zach Wilson.
Yeah, they probably make the playoffs in 2022, and
really
that extends.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think they would have. Who knows? That's a crazy domino effect, though, to think of.
I know you can go back and play revisionist history and really, say, well, if this happened, what will happen with the Jets now? And that's really all we have because we stink so much. But getting back into the free agent targets, what's the latest on the left guard? Because I think it really is between AVT and John Simpson. Jake, do you have any insight about where the Jets should or will they go between Simpson and AVT? Because you got to choose between them both.
Rich Cimini was a guest on my Sunday radio show on ESPN New York, and I asked him basically the same question that you asked me, Richie, and he said that he would be very surprised if John Simpson was back for what it's worth, and it sounded like AVT was much more of a possibility. He was a team captain. We know Aaron Glenn thinks highly of AVT. So if I were a betting man, I would say AVT back, Simpson hits free agency and is not re-signed.
So AVT would be left guard, and you have to get insurance. I guess where, the draft or in free agency, because we can't really.
Myers maybe, right? Myers is maybe the backup, and then Tippman's
but then who's the
right
starting
guard.
Center?
Maybe you draft someone, or you sign Tyler Linderbaum, which is what I would really want them to do.
Oh my gosh, that would be. We're the best offensive line of football. That's where my delusion comes in. If we re-sign AVT and sign Tyler Linderbaum, that's the best offensive line the Jets have ever had on paper in a long time, from left to right. Wow.
Agreed.
We'll see. Do you agree with that, Matt, where you're leaning more AVT over Simpson? Is it worth the risk?
The injury concern scares me with AVT. It really does. 3 of the 5 years he's been here, he's had a season-ending injury, and my concern would be relying on him as a starter. If that's the case, if that's what you want to do, then you need to have a quality backup in place, because I just don't think you could bank on him for 17 games. Yeah,
that's the thing. You're banking on durability with Simpson or upside with AVT, with the big problem. Like, if you're able to get and remember, AVT would also be going back to where his home was originally when we drafted him at left guard. So that's a good thing. I know that AVT has been bounced around. He played every single position on the O-line minus the center position. And I would love the idea of Olu and AVT paired up next to each other, and Membu and Tippmann paired up. And then I would like them to get an upgrade at center over Myers as well. But if they don't get a Linderbaum, is there really another option to get an upgrade over Myers? Because I don't think there really is.
Probably not in free agency.
Or even the draft. I mean, are they going to draft a center in one of those top 4 picks? That's even worth drafting. That would be a starting rookie center right out of the gate. That would be over someone as Myers, who had a full season of starting experience last year.
No, probably not as a starter in year 1. You're right.
Yeah, so I think Myers is really going to be the starter unless Linderbaum is their big swing in free agency. But we shall see. And how about Armand Membu after watching Will Campbell go out there and look like an absolute dud in the Super Bowl? That's my freaking rookie tackle, baby. Absolutely. Now, going into the headliner of free agency, Breece Hall, where do you guys think that's going to go? Is he a Jet? Are they transition tagging him, tagging and trading him? Is he walking? What's your gut tell you on the Breece Hall sweepstakes at this stage right now, Jake? Breece Hall.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that the Jets are going to keep him because they didn't trade him. But I almost wonder if, like, some of those comments that Harrison Phillips made, if he's talking about Breece Hall in a way, right? Like, Breece Hall's a very good player, but he kind of embodies like the all he knows is losing, same old Jets mentality. You know, he's got some cryptic tweets always. It just feels like maybe Breece doesn't want to be here. He might not have a choice if they use the tag on him, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets let him walk at this point. Again, I think the transition tag would probably make some sense. You let another team out there sign Breece, and then the Jets would have the right to match it or not. But I have changed my tune on this so many different times this year. One moment I'm like, bring him back, no doubt. The other times I'm like, no way. I still lean what they probably do bring him back if I had to make a guess right now. But I guess nothing would surprise me at this point.
So let's assume he's gone. What's the plan to replace him? Because Braylon Allen has a knee surgery issue last year, and then you got Isaiah Davis. Who are the Jets bringing in to replace Breece? Because I don't know if I trust those guys being number 1, number 2. Is there a veteran in free agency they can target? Are they going to value a running back earlier in the draft than we would like? Because you got the offense. The good thing that the Jets have right now, I will say, personnel-wise, they don't have to draft an offensive lineman early anymore. With having Membu and Fashanu, that's huge, right? You can absolutely afford now going after playmakers in the draft, but I don't know if running back is the position you want to invest in early. So, Matt, if Breece does walk, what's the alternative in free agency to replace him, or is it the draft?
There's some decent names in free agency, like Kenneth Walker, obviously just had a huge game in the Super Bowl. He's a free agent. Rico Dowdle, who had a nice year for the Panthers, is a free agent. Travis Etienne as well from Jacksonville. Those are probably the top 3 guys that are going to get brought up the most, who, at least have experience being a lead back in a system. So those would be my pivot points. I happen to like Rico Dowdle. I think he runs hard. But if you're looking for someone who could, catch passes out of the backfield like Breece Hall did, then I think Etienne makes a lot of sense.
And the biggest name that's been linked to the Jets in free agency that feels like he already is a Jet is linebacker Alex Anzalone. So I think he's already a Jet unless something else changes. And I know that's not a popular name in Jets fandom where it's like not splashy, but that signing would not be a splash move. It would be simply like a Harrison Phillips acquisition, more specifically someone that speaks Aaron Glenn's language, whatever the heck that even is, because from his time with Detroit, he was the captain of that defense and he had that Detroit Lions defense humming. And I think a big problem the Jets had last year defensively was lack of communication on the field, not being on the same page. Because when you're a defense and you have an offense that's calling audibles and they're reading the defense and you have one player thinking it's this coverage, the other player thinking it's that coverage, that's where broken coverages happen. That's when there's people wide open and there's just miscommunications all over the place. And the Jets are missing that. And I think Alex Anzalone would be a perfect fit to really try to be the extension of Aaron Glenn on that field to really help extend the message. So do you think Alex Anzalone is going to be a Jet, Matt? Or do you think that's not 100% guaranteed just yet? And would it be smart for the Jets to target him?
12:01 on the opening window of the tampering period. I think we hear Alex Anzalone to the Jets on a 2-year deal. I think it makes a lot of sense for both sides. For the Jets, they desperately need to redo that linebacker room. They have Quincy Williams who's going to hit free agency. That's not going to come back. And they made it pretty clear that they're going to look for guys who can play in this Aaron Glenn system. And, he was obviously with Glenn in not only Detroit, but also New Orleans. They have a great relationship. I don't think Detroit is going to pay him the money that he's looking for to come back, and the Jets have money to spend. So I know it's an obvious connection. Everyone's kind of made that one, but I think everyone makes it because it makes a ton of sense for this team.
Another former Lion that the Jets could be targeting in free agency is Amik Robertson. He's been linked to the Jets. Your thoughts of the 27-year-old cornerback coming into the Jets potentially, and or an Alex Anzalone? Could the Jets be targeting 2 former Lions? Would that be smart or not, Jake? Your thoughts?
I could definitely see it from talking with someone who covers the Lions. The way the player Robertson was described to me sounds like an Aaron Glenn player, like physical, not afraid of anything, great culture guy. I could see all the different Aaron Glenn connections kind of working out for that one. And Anzalone, I think, is still a good player. You're probably going to have to overpay if you're bringing him in, but that's free agency in a nutshell. And if you want to get someone that could be the captain of your defense, I think that's doing business.
Yeah, I think the 2 former Lions is definitely going to be most likely members of the New York Jets. And of course, the quarterback position is the next one. Is there a free agent that they're going to bring in? Is Derek Carr is not even considered a free agent, actually. He's actually connected to the Saints. So you'd have to trade for him if he was the option for the Jets. You'd also look around the NFL, look at other guys at the quarterback position. But those are your free agent targets and everything you need to know about the New York Jets free agency class. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe here to the Jets Roundtable. We appreciate you guys big time. Now, getting into more things on the chat. Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech, sounds great. He was a baller at the Senior Bowl. Absolute baller, Jacob Rodriguez. That was a guy I think the Jets could target at linebacker. And that's another whole thing. The Jets in the draft, who they're going to bring in, fill out the roster. But we have to wait to see what happens in free agency before we go deeper into those mock drafts, even though we're not going to stop doing the mocks until we do it. We can draft a running back in round 2. How would you feel about swinging on a running back in round 2, Matt? Is that too early for you if Breece walks?
I'd prefer to just sign one. I would like to use the Jets' first 4 picks to try to get as much talent in here as possible at key positions of need. Running back in the first 2 rounds kind of feels like a luxury pick that the Jets don't really have with all the holes on the roster. So I'd rather dip into free agency because it's not a position that costs a whole lot of money.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about the potential trade candidates. Not the players the Jets going to trade for, but the players the Jets could trade away. There was a PFF article that came out with 15 potential players that could be on the move this offseason. And they listed one player on the Jets that could be traded away that was very intriguing. The Jets have the second overall pick, and a lot of people are mocking the Jets getting the best player available, which is a player on the defensive line in the edge position, an Arvell Reese or a David Bailey or a Reuben Bain, one of those guys. Now, what does that mean? That means Will McDonald or Jermaine Johnson could be expendable. We saw the Jets trade away two of their best players on the defense objectively in this past season at the deadline, and Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. So that opens my mind up to thinking to myself, yeah, they're not afraid to trade guys away. They also were fielding calls of Jermaine Johnson, but they had a very stern price. Nobody was willing to give them the price, so they held on to Jermaine Johnson. Now that the Jets seem like they're not getting a quarterback at 2, and they're going to be drafting a guy at number 2 at the edge position, somebody from PFF brought up Jermaine Johnson as a potential trade candidate that the Jets could trade away. Jake, your reaction to that, would the Jets be smart to trade away Jermaine Johnson or not? Because they have to make a decision on Jermaine's future. He's entering a contract year. Will McDonald is also entering his 4th season, and they have to make a decision on his 5th-year option. So your thoughts of the idea of trading away a Jermaine Johnson if they were able to draft someone at number 2 at his position?
Why not keep your defense with where?
Jake, we have some audio difficulties on your end. You hear that, Matt, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, it went a little robot voice.
Jake is talking. You're a robot right now, Jake. You're a robot, Jake. Everybody spam the robot emojis in the comments. We got robot Jake Asman, but it's all good. Technical difficulties is part of the business here on YouTube. So, Matt, I'll kick it over to you. Same question.
Am I on?
No,
Still robot.
sorry, it was the robot. The robot threw me off. So we're on trade candidates for the Jets at this point, right? I want to just
basically, there was an article that had Jermaine Johnson listed as a trade candidate. Your thoughts of that idea of drafting someone at 2 at his position and trading away Jermaine?
I think it's on the table, and again, we made obvious connections with Alex Anzalone and Aaron Glenn. How do you not make the Robert Saleh connection with Jermaine Johnson, right? And especially if we talked about it earlier, if the Jets are switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4, I don't know where Jermaine fits. He doesn't really seem like a stand-up outside edge rusher. He's more of a 4-3 defensive end, and he worked well in the Robert Saleh system. So it wouldn't shock me at all if that's someone that Saleh would be looking to target.
Now, you have to choose between McDonald and Jermaine. I like Jermaine, man. Not only his presence on the field, like his off-the-field energy, I feel like this team needs. He's an alpha. He's a leader. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And it would be tough to give up on a guy like that. Like, he's the last piece of that defense from that core of Quinnen, Sauce, and Jermaine. If you had to choose between Will and Jermaine, you're leaning more towards Will McDonald or a Jermaine Johnson just from a future standpoint you want to give an extension to?
I have a hard time with Jermaine. And it's tough. Like you said, like I don't look at this as an easy decision, but Jermaine had a really gruesome injury at a position where it's very tough to come back from. And, just to draw a comparison to, another player, Carl Lawson had an Achilles injury and was never really the same guy after that. And, he played just 2 games in 2024, played 14 this past year, but only 3 sacks. And the pressure numbers weren't there. He would be a very difficult guy to move on from, because I agree, like you said, I think he has, pretty good attitude and wants to be a leader on this team and all that. But I just have my concerns about paying him right now. I think I wouldn't give him an extension before this season. I think you absolutely have to see how it plays out. But I'd lean Will McDonald because, even with the flaws that McDonald has, as a pass rusher who can give you 10 sacks, to me, that's valuable. And I don't know if Jermaine Johnson could get back to that form that we saw in 2023 pre-injury.
Or what if we are able to draft a guy at 2 and keep Jermaine and Will? And we draft another guy in the 2nd round on the interior of the defensive line. All of a sudden, the defensive line looking a little bit better, Matt O'Leary. So I don't know. Why do we have to trade one of these guys? Why don't we just keep them? Because I think the problem there with that mindset, though, is Well, you can't keep them both long term, so you might as well get something in return before they walk in free agency. This is Jermaine's last year, or maybe you trade him at the deadline. I don't know. A lot of interesting things about that.
Yeah, I think I kind of like your approach of kind of keeping everyone and then evaluating it at the deadline. You risk potentially losing more value on Jermaine Johnson if he comes out of the gate and isn't playing well. But, this is obviously a team that's trying to win games, right? Like they can't just be a 3-win team forever. So, having a strength on that defensive line, it's not a bad process, but if things, aren't going well and Jermaine feels expendable, then yeah, that's something that you could take a look at in season.
Yeah, I think that is very, very interesting. At the end of the day, the Jets have to figure out their opportunity to get this team cooking. And after seeing what the Jets did at the trade deadline, definitely have a more open mind to the Jets trading away our fan favorites. But please do not trade away Garrett Wilson. That's all I ask.
Yeah, that's the one that I think would break everyone.
It would break me. It would break me, Matt. That can't happen. That won't happen, right?
No, I don't think so. That's the one guy that I think is untouchable. Any of the other 52 guys on this roster is probably 52 might be an exaggeration, but you know what I mean? Like Garrett is the true untouchable on this roster.
I hope so, man. Let us know your thoughts about potential players the Jets could trade away. And maybe there's a name we forgot and we didn't really think about. Let us know in the comments right now in the chat if you guys feel like there's someone else that we're missing. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate you guys tuning in to the Jets Roundtable. All right. Last topic here. Harrison Phillips backs up Aaron Glenn by calling the Jets a cancerous and truculent group. All right. That is what he told me at Radio Row. And that quote, Matt, went everywhere. There was like 1 million articles written about it. There was a really great YouTube video made about it by my man, Matt O'Leary, which was awesome to see. Thank you, Matt. And I think that it's an interesting thing to talk about right now as we have Jake Asman joining. Jake Asman, welcome.
No.
The robot.
No.
All right. Jake, robot Jake is back. We got to get a Gator AI something done of Jake as a robot now. Jake is a robot. I think I read his lips saying he's calling from his phone.
Okay.
So now we got to stall Matt.
That's okay. I did love this interview, one that you did, and Jake had him on his show. I thought it was great to hear from Harrison Phillips, and I loved his answer. It was hard to hear, right? Like, obviously, as a Jets fan, that's not what you'd like to hear about the state of your organization, but I don't think any of us were really all that surprised to hear it. Now, like you standing there, were you shocked when he gave you that answer?
Yeah, he was giving me a lot, which is why when I heard Harrison Phillips was going to be there, I was like, oh, I need to get him because he was my personal favorite person to watch talk to the media last year during the season. As we have Jake Asman back on his phone, robot Jake.
Unreal. I don't know what happened. I unplugged everything. I had no clue why I sounded like a robot. It was even worse in my ear. I don't know what it sounded like for you guys, but it was just like a blasting, like, and I was like, I'm now deaf in both my ears, and I can't figure out what the problem is. So I apologize to the Roundtable audience here because I don't know what the issue is yet.
No worries, man. I'm sure we have all experienced our fair share of technical difficulties throughout our time here in radio and on the air. So no need to apologize. But we're talking about the Harrison Phillips. So Jake, your thoughts of the interview that you had with him, because it was a lot that Harrison Phillips gave you in his interview and myself. So what was your overall impressions of what Harrison Phillips told you?
That guy's a real leader, a team captain in waiting. It's only a matter of time. They need 52 players besides Harrison Phillips that have that mentality that he has if the Jets are going to turn things around. I love the leadership. I love what he was trying to preach. I love when, I asked him for his message to Jet fans. He told that incredible story of, the two twins with the alcoholic father. I've never heard that before. I thought that was awesome. So I just came away really impressed with him. I've interviewed a lot of athletes doing this for a while now, and that was one of the more memorable athlete interviews I've ever done. And I was not expecting that, given the fact Harrison Phillips is like a nice veteran player in this league. He's not like a superstar, and that was one of the more memorable interviews I've ever done. So that was really cool to experience, and he made me a fan for sure. Like I'm definitely, if I'm getting a Jets jersey, Harrison Phillips is on the short list of players I'd want to get a jersey for, because that guy cares, and I think as fans, you always love the players who it feels like they care as much as we do as fans, and Harrison Phillips definitely kind of represents that for sure.
Here is one of the clips from Jake Asman's interview with Harrison Phillips at Radio Row.
I believe in us, and I believe in what we can do, and I believe in the offseason that we're about to have.
Yet the record was 3-14, and at times, I mean, it was one of the more difficult seasons any of us have experienced. The 0-7 start, you lived it. What went wrong this year, in your opinion?
Well, there's a handful of things, but I would say from my standpoint, there's a culture that had been there for a long time, and you can't snap your fingers and put new identities in people. And I actually don't even fault players for the culture, as bad as you might think. But this season was trying for me. To start 0-7 and to only win 3 football games was very difficult. And as you mentioned, the leadership side that I took on, it was hard to show up to work on a Monday and be the positive guy and be the motivator and picking up the guys where they need to be and to go get out there to play in a, what fans might call a meaningless game when you're out of the playoffs,
right.
Just, playing with young players or whatever it was. It was hard, and I was here one season. Other players have gone through this for season after season after season. And that can really bias you. And you say, I have to go get mine because this coach is going to get fired, and that means a new coach is going to come in, and that means I'm going to get fired, and I'm going to get cut and traded, and new staff and new people, and so you start to protect your own. And when a rookie comes into an organization and the vets are just showing him that's how we do it here, it can really taint your optimism towards an organization. So it's changing. We're getting some great people who understand what winning looks like, understand what sacrifice looks like, understand what championship looks like.
I mean, you talk about an interview, a player actually giving you real stuff to think about as a fan, because that's all we want as fans. Like, bring us behind the doors a little bit. Like, what the heck is going wrong? And the fact that he was there for 1 year, hopefully continues to be longer. And he says, like, this is something that has been there for years. And he is referencing the players that have been there, that it's like a mindset where they start to lose. And then they're like, all right, well, here we go again, type of feel. And like, I got to play for myself instead of the team. That's a recipe for disaster every year. When you start thinking about yourself and not the collective, you're done. Absolutely done. So your thoughts of that, Matt, because it seems like that's what the culture is of the Jets, and it's been that way for years.
It has been like that for a long time, and that's why I'm, before you asked about cut candidates, Harrison Phillips didn't even come to my mind. I know the contract, they could save money off of it, but I don't think it should even be a consideration. One, he was a good player for them, and on top of that, too, one of the few guys who you could say is a true leader on this team, and they need more guys with the mindset that Harrison Phillips has. So I really like the answers that he gave to both of you.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. And here is what I had to ask him at the Radio Row as well, and more insight of Harrison Phillips on the culture of the Jets. Richie from Roundtable Sports Jets Media with the New York Jets defensive tackle Harrison Phillips. Harrison, I want to get your thoughts about Aaron Glenn, and what would you say to Jets fans of why we should believe in the vision and the culture that he's building here with the New York Jets?
Yeah, I haven't played for forever, but I've played for a handful of years now and understand that somehow, some way, culture matters. And you can't put 5 wins, 10 wins, 3 wins, whatever it is, that doing it with people that you care about, it helps correlate to winning games. And so if I had a connected football team, I would take that over a talented football team that wasn't connected. I think AG inherited a very cancerous, truculent group, whole top to bottom, and it almost wasn't, it's not individual people's fault. I was there for one season. It was a very difficult season. And I almost wanted to waver on some of my thoughts and my beliefs and my optimism. And so I can't imagine being there for year after year after year after year and not seeing the results that you wanted. And it tainted people because my coach is going to get fired. My teammate's going to get fired. I'm going to be a free agent. I might get fired. I got to play for me. I got to make sure that my tape's hot, regardless of what the system is asking me to do or the scheme's telling me to do. And then young players come in and see, oh, that's my vet, and that's how they're acting, so I'm going to act like that too. And so it's a long chain of things, and it can't be fixed like that. I think AG's mindset of any coach I've been around to deal what we had to deal with this season, to be as consistent as he was to us through that whole thing, was super cool to see. And I think that consistency and as well as making the jump from year 1 to year 2 as a head football coach, more of his people in the building, more of his thumbprint on the culture, I think we have to win more games.
Harrison, I appreciate you coming on. This is Harrison Phillips, defensive tackle, the New York Jets. Appreciate you, Harrison.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
If you could hear right there at the end, little fact, he did start doing the JETS Jets chant. But TD Finstock, of course, being the cameraman, cut it too short. So let me just play it again. I'm not lying. Listen closely.
The New York Jets. Appreciate you, Harrison.
Thank you, man. JETS.
Absolutely.
You heard it?
God,
I heard that. I'm like, yeah. I started going to go savage mode. I'm like, wait, no. I'm a reporter, not a Jets fan. You know, gotta ground yourself there. But very interesting stuff that he was able to exploit that to the building of cancerous, truculent group that Aaron Glenn inherited. So the question is, can Aaron Glenn handle the responsibility of turning this organization around? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Well, that's going to wrap up Harrison Phillips' storyline and everything else here on the Jets Roundtable. I'm Richie. He's Matt. The other guy is Jake Asman. You guys can check us out on the Jets Roundtable every Thursday live at 3 p.m. There's also clips to be uploaded throughout the channel. And then our guy, Matthew Wilson, got you covered for daily uploads of the latest news and the trending storylines on the channel as well. And you can check us out on the Jets Roundtable social media platforms, Instagram, X, TikTok. We're all over the place, baby, really building the Jets Roundtable brand. Matt, anything you want to say to the people before we wrap things up?
Go USA. JT Miller sucks, though.
What's the updated score?
1-1 after the first period.
Nice. I thought it was 2-0 earlier.
Yeah,
got
they took a
screwed.
goal back for goalie interference.
Jake, anything you want to say to the people?
USA, and Jets Roundtable for life. Big things ahead, baby. Combine, free agency, the draft. This is the place to be.
You're the man, Jake. Appreciate you. And guys, go check out the Jake Asman Show. Go check out Matt O'Leary, Talking Jets, Just Jets. Make sure you guys check out their personal stuff. And if you'd like to check out Jets Media, you can, but you don't got to do that. Love you guys as always. JETS, Jets. Hopefully, Jake Asman can figure out his technical difficulties before his next show. Peace out, folks.